Principal Matt Jones. This is episode 6, and we are not in office. We don't have in-office guests, but we are via Zoom and definitely social distancing, no doubt about that. We have from our social studies department, Mr. Brian Looker and Mr. Pete Lundy. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Yep.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and I've got my background here that I think is the right way, supporting our class of 2020 that we love so dearly. And obviously we miss all the students, but there's a little extra special place in our hearts for the class of 2020 on what they've had to go through here on this K-12 ride, ending their 12th grade year in unprecedented times, no doubt. And so we're, as you guys know, and everybody out there, we've moved graduation to Sunday, August 2nd from May 31st. I think we could probably figure out pretty quickly that there was no way that May 31st was going to work, putting 4,000 or 5,000 people in the Berry Bowl. So we were just kind of working with our class officers. What's the latest we could put graduation where kids were right before they were going back to college and right before another start of the school year. So we came up with that Sunday, August 2nd date. And who knows if that date will even happen. And like I've told everybody, we're going to prepare for a virtual graduation ceremony all along, just in case if we have to pull that out of our back pocket at the last minute. We did put some tiers in the regular graduation of where the kids, it just depends what the orders are. Maybe it's so many X amount of people can only be under one roof together. I don't know. How's it going, fellas?
Pretty good. I mean, you talk about social distancing. I guess I probably am the winner here. I'm 80 miles away. So
you're in Muncie, Indiana?
I am. I'm in Garrett's vacated apartment. He allowed me to have it because Julie works and runs the lab at the hospital. And, of course, the cases are kind of exploding, and she thought it would be safe for me to be here for right now. So
yeah, and hats off to Julie and all the other frontline workers and healthcare workers being in the heart of all that. Mr. Lundy, you look like you're hunkered down at home with the family.
Yeah, we're here at home. We've just been doing a lot of projects that have been meant to be done for the last several months or even years, really. I've had some time to do a little bit more with some projects of furniture and woodworking and some stuff. Not to the level of Mr. Ness. Yeah, we're not to the level of Mr. Ness yet. But now I've made a couple of like farmhouse tables for our bedroom for like nightstands. Made a flower planter box for my sister-in-law who's down in Indianapolis right now.
Well, it looked like you have some type of woodworking structure behind you.
Yeah, the wall behind me and then the opposite wall in our living room. We actually did that last September. It's kind of like a shiplap thing where it's just put up with small brad nails, and it's just kind of like tongue and groove. It already comes cut. It was really easy to install.
Hey, is that Rick Scott looking over your shoulder?
Yeah, right up here. That's our family picture from
red hot.
Yeah,
hard. That's
from Natalie's. It was from Natalie's wedding.
Yeah. So the kids, our high school students, who are going to watch this, they have no. I mean, they probably don't know Rick Scott like I know Rick Scott. He was my not only a friend later in life and playing a lot of golf with, and good friends with my dad and football refereeing, but he was my PE teacher all through elementary school. So I know him in that capacity. Now, so a lot of our students probably know Rick Scott just based on getting their driver's license through the company.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of their parents probably had Rick Scott as a PE teacher. Or maybe older, no, they wouldn't even have older siblings that would have had him at Landis because he's been retired for so long.
No, yeah, it's over 10 years.
Yeah.
We're pushing, yeah, it was 2005, 2006, I think is when he retired.
Yeah.
So we're just here and we're trying to get some stuff done around the house. And, we just try to stay busy. And, obviously with Izzy and Graham both, Izzy's ELearning and that kind of stuff. And even Graham has some things that he's doing to try to get himself ready for kindergarten next year. But we've had a lot of family time, which is good. Typically my Abby, Miss Lundy, and myself were usually, super busy as far as not just school but coaching.
Right.
And so without the spring golf season, and she does middle school in the spring too. So without that, we're usually at the golf course. I mean, we'd probably still be there right now, just getting ready to come home. So yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah, well, that part of it, but have you been binge watching any shows or anything? I know everybody. I have gotten into. I rewatched the Office, which I watched it the first time, but I wasn't like crazy paying attention to it as it was on for when it was regularly on, and obviously crazy, really funny, but. When James Spader came on, season 7 or 8 or whatever it was, and he was Robert California, what a name. So then after The Office was done, my parents have always talked about The Blacklist. So, and I knew James Spader starred in The Blacklist on an NBC show. So I started like 6 years of that on Netflix. So I'm like into season 2. And I forgot how great of an actor James Spader is. His delivery style, he is just off the charts talented. But I've really enjoyed that. So The Blacklist is something I've been kind of watching a lot of. You guys, anything?
Well,
you're probably just watching the history.
No.
Softball question.
No, he doesn't have a cable down here in his apartment, but he does have Netflix. So, I mean, at least I've had Netflix. Julie and I started Madam Secretary before I came down here, so I finished that.
The CBS show, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Been watching a lot of Cheers. I remember watching it when I was a kid, but it's like you're talking about when you watch The Office first time through, and then you watch it again several years later.
Right.
I watched Cheers when I was 10, 12 years old, so it's a completely different perspective now.
Love Cheers.
45, 47.
Yeah, those were right in those 80s shows. Mm-hmm. Now, see, we're closer in age, where Mr. Lundy's a little bit younger. So
I can remember watching some Cheers when I was growing up too. So
all right.
Tail end of Cheers.
Yeah. I mean, the reruns, you would always catch the reruns every once in a while, but yeah, it's definitely not the experience that you guys have had.
Well, I highly recommend. It's on Netflix, The Blacklist.
We watch The Blacklist every week. It's one of our shows.
Okay, so you're current. So this is all new to me. Go ahead.
Guilty pleasure. I'd say I have watched The Tiger King.
I did too.
I'm not going to go into a lot of specific details on it, but it was definitely interesting, to say the least. We're looking at getting into the All-American is another one. Ozarks is the one. Ozark is another one, but the All-American is about it's about a high school kid growing up in we don't really know a lot about it, but I mean, Rick is the one that has suggested. He said, "Hey, you guys got to watch it. That's great." So that's one we're going to get into. But we watch a lot of our weekly shows, Chicago series on Wednesday nights. A lot of Disney Plus. Disney Plus is on a lot with the young kids and stuff. So
you can't beat that.
No.
Yeah. Anything else there, Mr. Looker?
Well, I mean, just going around, watch a couple old Star Trek episodes and watching and seeing how bad some of them are. But I mean, great themes, but terribly executed. But some Star Trek, and I watched Bird Box the other night. I hadn't seen that. I finally got around to watching that. It's kind of interesting since I've been put in a box the last 2 weeks down here.
Yeah.
It's like it's sort of like this pandemic thing, just a little bit more violent, obviously, on Bird Box. But
one I'm looking forward to starts tomorrow night on ESPN is the limited series on The Last Dance, which is the Michael Jordan story there.
A lot of people
enjoy that.
That
because you don't get it. Yeah,
I don't have cable.
Hey, Brian, they said it will be streaming on Netflix though. I think either it's on a delay or it might be even the following day they're going to put it on Netflix.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. They were going to wait till June because they wanted to time it with the beginning of the finals. But they said because of the pandemic, they moved up the timeline because people are just, starved for sports entertainment. And they figured it'd be a good every Sunday for, I think, until like June 2nd.
Well, you've seen where they have pushed more stuff because of the situation. Even like movies that would be in the theater, they've rushed them straight to online where you can. I think they're like $20. Well, they're like $20, but I think they figure, if you take 3 or 4 kids to a movie, it's going to be $20 and buy candy or whatever. So I think that's where
we just ended up watching Trolls 2, the World Tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a good one.
A few of those they moved though, like the last James Bond movie with Daniel Craig, they moved to next fall because they the top ones. Even like speaking of Top Gun, Maverick, I think they moved that to like just.
I was hoping that one was going to come out as normal and just go straight to rent on DVD.
They were so quick getting that sequel out there. I mean, what is it? Just yesterday,
the turnaround time was amazing.
4 years ago. Yeah.
Mr. Look, I noticed that you'd been building some NASA rockets lately. Gemini, Saturn.
Yeah. Tonight
we're going to get it. We're going to get it.
Well, see, I got the pieces. So tonight I'm putting together the Saturn V. I spent not kidding, 8 hours yesterday painting. Making sure that everything was right. And that's what I've been doing is putting together these models. And when we do Space Race here in a couple of weeks, I'll actually be able to, on Loom, show the pieces of the rockets and do a display. So it's kind of nice. I've had these models for a while, and it's kind of like Pete said, you put things off, and well, now I've got plenty of time to put them together. So that's what I'm doing.
Sure. How's speaking of ELearning? How's ELearning going for you guys?
It's fine. ACP, it's doing Loom lectures, and I mean, I would much prefer to do World War II in the classroom. It's probably my favorite thing to do all year long. But it's been okay, and when you go to look to see who's been viewing it, I mean, the students seem to be viewing, and taking it pretty seriously. And ACP, they've been turning their stuff in. Yeah, world history too. I mean, I've had very few students that haven't done what they need to do. So I think it's working as well as it can. I mean, like you said, got to do the best that we can with what we got, and I think it's running pretty well.
Well, and we had a little advantage since we've been doing it for a few years.
Mine's been about the same. It's been pretty good as far as getting, kids getting stuff turned in. Like Brian said, we're missing a lot of some of the really good stuff as far as coming down the road in history, the World War IIs and, getting into, we're going to get in more in the modern history and U.S. history, which is more fun to talk about in class because you can do a lot more with it. But I think that we're doing as best we can, and the kids I think they're trying and they're figuring out ways to get around maybe some of the roadblocks that they have. And I've already told all of them, we're just going to be as flexible as we can, and don't get too frustrated and flustered with it. Just reach out to us and we'll figure something out for them. So
right, good. Back to the I was thinking about the Michael Jordan, the Bulls, and I don't, you grow up in an era where you always think that the people in your era were the best players and like were so dominant because they were your people. Not like I was a huge Jordan fan or a Bulls fan. I probably didn't watch a ton of NBA. It was more the baseball, but I mean, Michael Jordan in his prime. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I don't think there's anybody else that can touch him. He was amazing in his prime.
And it's interesting.
Even out of his prime, he was amazing.
Yeah, they always make the the LeBron, the MJ LeBron comparison. It's interesting.
Really good, there's no doubt.
Because they don't necessarily play the same position. Now I don't know that it's like it used to be where, Jordan was more of a 1-2 guard and he could play in the post, but he wasn't going to go and try to post up a 7-foot center like LeBron can. He's just a little bit bigger physical athlete, but it's just each generation is going to have their own. And I watched a lot of Jordan. I was a big Bulls fan, obviously. But I look at like, I'm more in the golf scene. And so like, my generation growing up in the late 90s when I really started to kind of get into it was, the Tiger Woods thing. And now it's like Tiger and Phil were like the duo back then. And now you're getting into more like the McElroys and the Jordan Spieths of the world and so on. But yeah, I mean, everybody tries to make those comparisons and, who has the most this and who has the most that. But I can tell you this, they didn't score as many points back in the MJ days. They weren't scoring 150 points a game, that's for sure.
Right.
And it's always unfair. Yeah. Well, it's always unfair to any athlete to try to compare two different generations. But yeah. I'm with you. I didn't watch a lot of NBA in the late 80s, early 90s, but when I almost bristle when someone in class just randomly brings up basketball and they talk about LeBron being the best. It's not that I disagree with them, but we did watch Jordan in his prime, and it sticks with you because we were 18, 25 years old when he was in his prime. So for us,
it seemed like he never missed. I mean, he just never. And he would start. Then he started hitting those last minute buzzer beater for the wins, and yeah, he was in his athleticism, and he's a great defender. I mean, he was what a competitor.
Yeah,
I mean, you always hear the stories of how intense he was in practice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like if you're gonna, if I'm gonna compare, Kobe was also one of those guys that was around, in my high school years and then into early college. Like that was when he was kind of coming into his own. But when you look at guys like MJ and Kobe and LeBron, it's like they are just on a whole nother level when it comes to their competitiveness, but then it drives them to just absolutely demand that people rise to that level and are engaged at that level. And I think that's what's going to be interesting to see. And they asked MJ if he wanted to cut anything out of that documentary, and he said no. So he said people are going to not like him after they're done watching it. So it'll be interesting.
And I kind of lose track of MJ's career because it was just so. And they won 6? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And three, and I always have to remember he left and played baseball.
Yeah.
And then he came back.
Well, yeah.
No, right.
But he did hit 200 in Double-A as a basketball player, so that's pretty impressive.
When you think about this guy, the best basketball player at that time, leaves in his prime to go play baseball, which he loved baseball. He loves golf too. He's a pretty good golfer. To go and do that, and then he comes back. Now, did he win 3 before and 3 after?
Yeah.
Am I getting those right? Okay, unbelievable. I mean, now that's some talent. Yeah. And LeBron, don't get me wrong. I mean, for a guy at 6'8" that can handle the ball like he can, and I mean, he's tough. I mean, he really is for his size. How good he is. But I don't know, Jordan. It is so hard to tell. Sometimes I'll get locked onto YouTube with watching like Larry Bird videos and stuff on some of his and how great he was for a guy just could flat out his basketball IQ is off the charts.
Just if you want to like stick it to Sam Skaggs, I know he's not at the high school anymore, but we used to have arguments that the best basketball player to come out of Indiana was Oscar Robertson, and it would make his skin crawl because he firmly believed it was Larry Bird. Now
it was Bird.
That's what he said. I said it was Robertson. I didn't really care one way or the other. I just
I don't know. I mean, obviously, Indiana's been blessed with amazing basketball players, and forever. I mean, maybe when Jordan was just coming on, people would always say, Oscar and Larry Bird, and both of them come from India. I met Oscar Robertson in 2010. It was some anniversary. I think it was 2010. It was or 11. It was some anniversary of the basketball championship. Went back to like the first ever IHSA basketball championship. Would that have been 1910? I don't remember what, but anyway, they call it a parade of champions, and they had like every school was represented that had won a championship, and you had like a fire truck or whatever. And our Logansport High School, it was like on spring break or something, so they needed some people just to represent the school. So we took Felix down, and I played baseball primarily in high school, but went down just as an administrative representative. And Crispus Attucks was right next to Logansport. And so Oscar Roberts, so I got to talk to him, took some pictures with him, which I met him. I got a picture with him at the Logansport High School Berry basketball camp when I was little. But anyway, so I asked him if he'd ever played in the Berry Bowl. He said he'd never played in the Berry Bowl. He knew about the Berry Bowl, but he goes, but I did play at Riverside Park. He knew exactly, because they used to have those in the 50s, 40s probably too, but they used to have these big matchups at Riverside Park where all these like travel teams of the best, Oscar Robertson, in high school would come and play summer league games there. Yeah, he knew. He rattled off Riverside Park just like that, and I was like,
was it like one of those like? Was it like a Gus Macker type of deal where it was like?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and you could talk to like Rick and my dad, and they would know all about it forever in the 50s, 60s. That those teams have been great teams, but kind of predates travel league teams, I would say. And bring your best type stuff.
Rick tells me stories about when he played softball. And he was on big time travel softball. He actually played against Larry Bird when Larry Bird was in. He was just maybe a freshman, sophomore in college, and he would tell stories about him going out and Larry Bird just hit bombs over the fence. And
he played like a season or for a little bit for baseball at ISU.
Yeah, it was like slow pitch softball, but
I've seen him in some ISU. Sycamore baseball jersey, standing there about 6'9".
You brought up Rick again. I got to give a Rick Scott story if you don't mind. So it was 20 years ago. I was subbing at Landis, and he told me a story when he played football at Ball State that he holds the school record. At least he did then.
He did at that time.
Touchdown passes.
Chad Pennington broke it,
But he said that going into that game, somebody had hit his helmet. So he didn't have his helmet, and somebody was trying to find it. And he goes in and he says, I completed 6 touchdown passes in that game. And, he waits for like the response, like, oh man, that's awfully impressive, which it is. He said, of course, one of them was to the other team. So, I mean, the way he set it up is like he's setting the bowling pins up and he's ready to knock
them down. Was it one like a punt or a field goal that went?
No, it was something like that. I mean,
he was the holder and he had to scramble. I don't remember.
Of course,
the story probably changes over the years.
You got to go get it from him because it's like a 3 or 4 minute production, and he's leading and he's building up to like the climax of it, and he's really, really good at it. And I gave it a really terrible 20-second version, but anyway, so he's got a great, I have the school record thing, so.
Yeah, it was Chad Pennington when Chad Pennington was at Marshall is when
Randy Moss, right? With Moss?
Yeah,
Did he throw to Moss? Not a bad target in college.
no, not at all. But
It's
a funny.
good basketball player. Randy Moss was a good basketball player too.
Yeah, Rick took me. They have a football alumni outing over in Muncie every single year, and he's been begging me for years to go, and it would never work out to where I would be able to go over there. But this past summer he did, and oh, those guys, they just sit around and tell those stories, and I've probably heard that same story that Brian just told me a dozen times, and he's right. I think every single time something in that story changes, but it's a production.
Obviously we're in the heart of this. It's good to tell stories and stuff in the heart of this pandemic, and so many unknowns on, when the governor, there's talk of start trying to get the economy going, and when to start opening back up, and I think it sounds like Indiana's kind of aligned themselves with the Midwest on making determination like that, but I think it's going to be a while. I can't imagine many changes, at least till midsummer, maybe. I don't know, June. It's all speculation as we try to get the curve flattened. And I'm sure those pharmaceutical companies are trying to get a vaccine, but I heard somebody thought that maybe by the fall they might be able to start doing some trials, maybe start getting it into more mass production come next spring. But if they can get it flattened and under control with the antibodies and stuff, and then they and I read today where they were trying to figure out can you get it again if you've already had it. And they've had some people that have tested positive after having it, but they feel like maybe it just remnants of the virus is still in your bloodstream, but you're not contagious. At least that's was the thing I read. I think maybe out of South Korea.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw the same stuff in the last couple of days. So, yeah.
It's just something that they don't totally have a grasp on this, the aggressiveness of the virus. Mm-hmm. I guess we just need to stay quarantined, social distancing. That goes for everybody, and our students. They've got to be responsible on that too. They say it doesn't impact them as much but they've got to protect everybody else and not spread it, and think of parents and elders and to do everybody needs to do their part on it.
Yeah, and I think the hardest thing, the hardest thing has been for especially in our household, is for Izzy and Graham, it's just not being able to see their friends. They can't,
mm-hmm.
They can't even have a get together for just a brief little while for a play date kind of thing, or Graham loves to go to the parks in the summertime. It's starting to get warm out again, and so we try to do walks, and we try to go out and ride bikes and stuff like that, just to kind of break up the monotony a little bit. But and one of the things that's happened since this whole thing is that I've become an uncle again. My sister had her baby. There were some complications, and she had to have an emergency C-section. And so that whole ordeal, where typically somebody would be there with her, she's in the hospital by herself. Luckily, they were willing to let my mom come to the hospital. She had to go through the whole protocol. My sister had to be tested and make sure that she came back negative, which she did. Luckily, thank God. But my mom was able to go in, and they've since come home, and my niece is doing great. So they're back home now. Everybody else in my family is they're healthy. They're down in Greenwood. They're in Johnson County, so they're kind of closer to the epicenter, the hot spot in Indiana, which is Marion County, which is the numbers. I don't know if the numbers are starting to flatten off a little bit there or not, but and then obviously Abby's sister and my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law live down there. They're in the Butler Tarkington area, so they're healthy though, and she's almost 24 weeks pregnant herself. So and so we have lot of our minds, people that are, we're just trying to do our best, and just hopefully people understand that, man, we wish we could do all the things that we normally could do, and it's definitely, it's not fun for us to have to be here, all the time cooped up. We get a little stir crazy, but it's going to be for the best, and it's going to help people, like Julie and what she does, and trying to mitigate some of that stuff, and to try to keep people as healthy as possible. So.
Yeah, and we feel for our students. I know it's been tough, and we'll just, we're all in it together, and we'll get through it. Just have to be patient and flexible, and just, this is all new to all of us, going through something like this.
Right.
Talk about something that escalated quickly.
I think it was the second to last day we were in school. It was definitely that week. I was telling one of my class, I said, this might be the event of your lifetime, as far as, something to look back on for, for our generation. It's most likely 9/11. But with 9/11, at least, it was a one-day event. Now all the repercussions went for years, but this goes day after day after day. And it'll be interesting to see how these students, when they're adults, will look back and kind of reflect upon what they had to go through, because it's completely unique for any of us. No one's gone through this for 100 years in our country. So,
right. Well, the hope is we finish the year, and then at some point in the summer, some of this starts opening back up a little bit. In what capacity, no clue. And that we can have our graduation and start the school year in early August and somewhat move forward. But I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. It's so many unknowns. You got some of the universities are already talking about not starting the first semester. I don't know if they'll start online or whatever, but have you guys heard of that? Some of the universities are starting to look at that, maybe a January start, or at least first semester online.
I just saw something, just about a half an hour before we got on here, out of Chicago. I think it was WGN-TV reported that there are some universities that are considering not going back to in-person until 2021. Wow. So whether that's January or whether that's August of 2021, it didn't really specify, but it's, and I don't know that they're doing that to try to freak people out or scare people, but it's just the reality that it's like you said, we just don't have any idea like what to expect, like how is this going to go. Everybody wishes that we had the answer to say, yeah, 3 weeks from now, this is all going to be over with, because it gives it a finality, an end date, but we just don't know. And so yeah, I've kind of heard some things on that front too. So.
Okay. All right. Hey, we're about done, but we have rapid fire questions. My favorite band or musician is?
Beatles.
You went with the Beatles. You just threw out the Beatles.
Well, it's true. And if you go on solo artist, Billy Joel. Billy Joel solo artist, group, Beatles. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. What a catalog of songs the Beatles have.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just such a hard one. I listen to so many different kinds, but if it's, I don't know. I can go back to, I'll go back to my roots, and I'll just say, I'm kind of an 80s rock kind of guy, so I'm going to go with some Guns N' Roses.
Oh, GNR.
Good pick.
Great.
Not rapid fire, but good pick.
Your first car?
68 Camaro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Driving that through Walton, Indiana, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
What was that 68 Camaro? Was it ever parked at the dog shed?
No. Coincidentally, I got to be one of the few people to ever graduate from this class that never ate at the dog shed. So
I think I've asked you. I always assume that.
Yeah.
tenderloin and fries for $2.15. I don't know.
I never went there.
I just remember that on a sign driving through there. That's years ago. What about you, Mr. Lundy?
1990 Pontiac Grand Am, 2-door.
Classic Grand Am, very popular.
Yep, yeah. Candy red.
Okay.
Couldn't fit the golf clubs in the trunk because I had too many. I had two 12-inch subwoofers.
Okay, if you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Either the 1920s or 50s, one of the two. 20s for baseball, 50s for I don't know, but one of those two times.
You know what I love? I follow on the Baseball in Color Twitter feed. Do you follow that?
No, I don't.
They convert, digitally all these pictures of baseball, classic pictures in baseball, a lot of them in the 20s or whatever, with, like maybe with the 27 Yankees or Babe Ruth standing off to the side hitting batting, right before waiting in his line. Gehrig's in the cage hitting BP and he's next. It's called Baseball in Color Twitter feed. It's so neat. It really just ramps up those pictures to another level.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, you would love it. Being a baseball guy, Mr. Lundy.
I probably would go with the same thing that Mr. Looker said. It'd be a toss up between the 20s or the 50s. I don't know if it would be as much about the baseball aspect, but it would just be about the social aspect.
Oh, the Great Gatsby.
Yeah, well, it's just the Roaring 20s, and then the 1950s and the massive flight to the suburbs and what that looked like, and then the car culture and just all this stuff that we just see it driving down the road, like fast food restaurants, like McDonald's Corporation, developing in the 1950s. It would have been an intriguing time to see how that all came together.
Favorite movie?
Back to the Future. I've probably seen Back to the Future 30 times. Anything with time travel. I watch any time travel movie or television show at least one time, no matter how bad it is.
Like the original one? The original one?
Yes, the first one. The second one's a little bit of a mess. The third one's kind of fun, but the first one.
Mrs. Lundy's sitting over the couch and she's looking at me saying, "If you don't say Shawshank Redemption, I'm going to slap you."
That is a great movie.
Because we will literally be doing anything, and it could be any day of the week, any time. And if I'm scrolling through the channels and that movie comes across, I click on it immediately. Shawshank Redemption is probably at the top.
Yeah, that's the one that's what I picked. It's great. If kids haven't seen it, it's an amazing movie. Okay, favorite city in the United States, other than Logansport.
Toss up for me, either Charleston, South Carolina, or New York City. I love New York City, and everything that they're going through right now. I want to go back to New York City when it's safe to go. But either Charleston or there.
I'm gonna have to go with Washington D.C. I've been there a few times. I've been there a couple of times on field trips when I taught in Indianapolis, and it's just one of those places. And obviously, being a history guy, it's just one of those places. It's really cool to go and see a lot of the historical places that were part of the original history of our country and so on. But I can't say if I had to do one of those like Facebook, how many states have you been to things that are out there, like how many I could click on. I think the farthest west I've ever been is like Oklahoma, but Washington D.C. Savannah, Georgia, down on the river is also very, very cool.
Always want to go there too. So yeah.
There you go. Looker, Skittles or Twizzlers?
Can I say neither? I mean, if sure. If you're going to force me to eat one, I would eat Skittles, even though it's sickeningly sweet. But I don't like licorice at all. I mean, at all. So.
Well, but some people would say that Twizzlers that's not classic licorice, but.
Yeah, but it looks like it to me.
Lundy, Skittles guy. Okay.
Yeah.
favorite arcade game growing up. No, I'm talking about like arcade art. Well,
This one's easy. I kind of blanked there for a second because we didn't have Atari or ColecoVision at home like most cool kids did. We had the Commodore 64, so yeah, all the knockoff games. But sit down pole position, not the stand up, the sit down pole position was where if I ever got a quarter from my mom, which was almost never, that's where I went, was to sit down. So
pole position's great. Yeah.
Oh,
Mr. Lundy?
I used to go, my mom was in a bowling league when I was little. And they had arcade machines and the pool tables and stuff at the bowling alley. And so that's kind of like my arcade experience, I would say. I'd have to go. There was the arcade game was it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay. He showed his age there.
That's what it was. They had the sit down Pac-Man, like the flat top table.
Yeah.
You can play Pac-Man. So I mean, but I'd say it's got to be the Ninja Turtles.
Mine, we had the teepee in the mall, Logan Mall, when it was in its prime, and we would go down there and play. Well, it was also Showbiz Pizza Place, which is what is there now, like a Dollar General?
$1, whatever.
Yeah,
$1,
$3,
whatever.
Yeah, it was track and field. It was like an Olympic game, and you take your hands and you go like this, or you go like this.
I forgot about that game. Yeah,
you'd have to alternate the buttons to make go faster. Then you'd have to tap to jump, or people would like take their hands and go like this, or you'd take a pencil and put it between your fingers and tap the pencil. It was like all these strategies. We'd go down there and compete on track and field. Yeah. Okay. Favorite pro wrestler growing up?
Oh God, I had never in my life watched pro wrestling, so.
Well, that's good.
Pass.
For that.
Pass.
Okay, we can pass that one.
I don't have one. The Rock. The Rock. There you go.
I'll answer that one.
What?
I will answer that one. It is going to have to be, without a doubt, The Rock.
Okay.
Like Attitude Era Rock. Like within the first 10 years of his career, Rock. Not the Fast and the Furious Rock.
Okay. All right. The Rock versus Stone Cold.
And Triple H, Generation X. Yeah, I grew up in the Attitude Era, if you know what I'm talking about. So,
my reference is always just the '80s, and that was like the Hulkster and all that. Macho Man,
Roddy Piper or something.
Roddy Piper. Yeah. Okay. Favorite president? Little history question there. That's tough.
So I got hammered for going with the Beatles because that's the one. So I can't go with Lincoln. So I'll stay away from Lincoln. I'll stay away from Millard Fillmore. There you go. And that's a little bit off the beaten path. How about Millard Fillmore?
The wild card.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd have to say John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
I'll stay away from the earlier ones too. Although I will say this, that I do have presidential lineage in my family. I am very distantly related to Rutherford B. Hayes. And I don't say that as I'm bragging.
Well, I mean, I did the Millard Fillmore thing. It's a joke. My students get it. My students get the Millard Fillmore thing. So there you go.
Good. Favorite baseball player, Mr. Looker?
Tom Seaver was my idol growing up. Yeah. So
big red machine.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I was a Reds fan growing up, and I wasn't even aware he was a Met because he became a Red when I was five and a half years old. So later on, I became aware he was a Met. They just had the Monday night game of the week on. I think it was on ABC back then, and you really didn't have any other exposure on TV. I saw a magazine picture of him dragging that knee, which no other pitcher did, and I'd be in the backyard and I'd pretend to either be him or Dan Quisenberry. So I have a submarine or
dragging your arm.
Right knee. Yeah, I'm not very good at either one of them. So
my favorite baseball when I was growing up and younger playing baseball, it was actually Frank Thomas.
Okay, the Big Hurt.
The Big Hurt, yeah. My Little League number was Frank Thomas's number. all through Little League. So
35.
35. That's right.
Yeah, he was tough. He didn't take much effort for him to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
And I always see he could hit every. I mean, he would hit opposite field. I mean, he was just so strong, so strong. Thor or Iron Man?
My wife, I'm sure, would go with Thor for apparent and obvious reasons, but I'm going to go with Iron Man on that one.
I was going to ask for your favorite superhero, but I know what that is. I about went Flash and Green Lantern.
Oh, that'd have to be Flash.
I've seen a piece of the Green Lantern movie. That's tainted me for life. I'd go with Thor.
Thor, the hammer.
I would have gone with Flash too. So
yeah.
Okay. I think Graham would probably go with Iron Man. What do you think, Graham? Would you going Iron Man or Thor? He's not listening to me. What? Thor or Iron Man? Yeah, Graham's going with Iron Man.
The Joker or the Penguin?
Oh, Joker.
Joker, hands down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Doesn't matter which one it was either. It's the Joker.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe Jared Leto would mind his rendition. I'm not sure about, but any other Joker, even Sid. What was it? Cesar Romero that did the TV show.
Okay. Name a bucket listed item.
I get to the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone or both of them. That's probably close to the top.
Yeah. Yeah, mine's to visit New York City, or Sunday at the Masters.
Yeah. Did they move the Masters to the fall?
November.
Wow.
Yeah.
The azaleas won't be blooming, I don't think, probably in November. They'll be long gone, won't they?
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know the length of an azalea bloom.
No, they'll be green.
Since we've been watching Cheers, we need to find Cliff Clavin. He would know that answer because he knew everything.
Well, anything else you want to talk about?
Students, thinking about them. I know this is rough on them too, and it's just an experience that I think all of us are going to struggle with until it's over. So just hang in there as best you can, and we'll get through it. And just know that we're all thinking of you. Even
right.
And we'll do it together.
Yep.
Yeah, and same message. And I talked to especially the seniors. I had 2 senior guys on the golf team this year, and I talked to them, personally, and we Zoomed that. But yeah, like Brian said, we're all thinking about you guys. We're worried about, how you're doing and where you're at, not just academically, but mentally and things like that. So, just hang in there, stick in there, and let us know if you need anything. We're here for you guys.
Right. I'll probably try to get a few more teachers on here as we have this time going through and on some future One Berry Lane podcast episodes. And also, students, we're thinking about you. If you need anything, give us a call. We're here for you. We will help you get through this. Again, we're in it together. Thanks, guys, for being on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yep,
all right, we're thinking about you too. So stay well and stay healthy.